I still vividly remember the worst, most painful, awful year of my life. In March of that year is when all my basketball dreams that I've been working and giving everything into came crashing down. And that was the one thing that that for me was my source of hope, my source of power, of this can be how I overcome all my insecurities. This is how I can finally be good enough. This is how I can finally be free from all these horrible fears and all these things that are wrong with me and the anxieties and all of that. And it came crashing down. And that's when I wanted to die. And that's when all the other fears and OCDs and anxieties got as bad as ever. And I felt so stuck. I felt so discouraged and hopeless. And like there wasn't even a point anymore. If you've ever felt that way, or if you're currently feeling that way, say yes, right? And then just a couple months after that is when I had the worst panic attacks of my life, where all the time, every day, it felt like I just was going crazy. I genuinely thought I was going crazy and didn't know if I'd ever be able to just think again, right? And that's when I remember writing in my journal that it felt like I was drowning, but I didn't know where to turn for breath or if breath was even possible, right? That's when I remember writing an email to my mom and just begging for her to somehow save me, even though I was an 18-year-old, right? But I was just begging my mom because that's how painful it was. And I was terrified that my whole life would be stuck that way of just these terrible fears that consumed everything. And if you've ever felt that way or are currently feeling that way, then say yes. But that's when, literally just a couple weeks after the panic attacks, everything was so bad. That's when I decided I have to find a way to beat this, because the OCD, the anxieties, the fears and insecurities, it had ruled my life. It had made it so my dreams failed horribly. It made it so I couldn't date or really even talk to girls. It made it so I couldn't work. It made it so I couldn't be free, couldn't be happy. It made it so I was always consumed by this horrible place inside of me. So I decided that I had to find a way to beat it. And that is when I was so blessed. And I'll forever be infinitely grateful for this discovery. That's when I had the first major discovery that because of this discovery, it opened the door to everything else that I learned that allowed me to overcome the OCD, the anxiety, the insecurities, the fears. Like, this is the discovery. This one discovery is the thing that made everything else possible. It opened the door. Like, I literally view my life as two different lives. The life before this discovery and the life after this discovery. And everything else that I learned was predicated or dependent on learning this one thing. And that's why when I learned it, it changed everything for me. That's why, like, if there was only one thing you were going to take away from this whole program, if it was just that you actually internalized and actually made this real for you, actually trusted it and lived this as if it's your biggest truth of how you can view your reality. If that's the one thing you did, then I would have full confidence that with time, you would find the freedom, the healing that you dream of. That is how powerful this discovery is. And just a couple days ago, I was talking to my friend, and they were saying that it was the same thing for them, that they struggled and suffered for years and years, and nothing helped. And they went to therapy and they tried all these things and nothing really helped until they discovered this. And then boom, everything changed, like so fast, so powerfully. Right? This is something that they don't teach in therapy. I went to therapy and I never learned this, but as soon as I did, that is when I was like, I just have to share this with the entire world. I have to share this with everyone that will possibly listen, because that is how much it changed my life. Like, it literally took me from all of that suffering and how horrible my life was to literally in a few weeks, I was in love with life. People would ask me like, David, how are you doing? Because they knew how much I'd been struggling, and I'd be like, I don't think I could do any better. Like, I literally think I peaked of life. And I could say that honestly and genuinely from the bottom of my heart. So what is this first incredible discovery that I made? At the time, again, I was like, I have to find a way to beat this, to be free, to live the life that I dream of. And I was watching a Joe Dispenza video. Gotta give credit where it's due. And I was watching this video. And that's when, in this video, he shared that all of the suffering, all of the pain, all of the fear, all the insecurity, all of the feeling like you're not lovable or good enough, all of the anxieties, all of the OCD, all of it is just subconscious patterns that you have memorized in your brain. That is it. Like, write that down, star that, like, live by that, because everything, all of the suffering, every time you have that horrible fear that just won't go away and you try to fight it or you try to do whatever strategy or whatever and it just keeps attacking you, that's just a pattern you've memorized in your brain. That's just a movie that you've memorized and recorded in your subconscious, so it just keeps playing over and over again. That's it. It's just a pattern. Like, that is the crazy thing to realize. Because the reason why this is so amazing is for two things. One, my whole life growing up, I thought that the fears, the anxiety, those, I thought it was just true. I thought it was just real. That my brain was like, oh, people are judging you for this, or there's this horrible thing wrong with you that will always be that way, or that. I just thought it was true. I just thought that was actual reality. I didn't even realize there was anything wrong with like what was happening in my mind, because I was like, those are just true things I actually have to worry about and solve and figure out. And if you've ever been there where it's like, I think it's just real. Like, I think these things are just real. I don't even know if I have like OCD or anxiety or whatever. I just actually think these are true fears that I have to worry about. If you've been there, say yes. Say yes. That's what I thought my whole life. But when you realize that it's all just patterns and programs that your brain has memorized, and now it's just running this circuitry in your brain, then you realize it's not true. It's not just actual reality. It's that your brain has memorized distorting and polluting how you view reality. So it's always telling you these lies just because it's memorized to do so. It's not true. It's not your reality. That is the first thing that for me was like, oh my goodness, just because I'm thinking something doesn't make it true. Just because I'm feeling something doesn't make it true. It's just a pattern I've memorized. And the second thing, and this is where so many people lie in the OCD and in the anxiety community, or people just don't understand this, right? So, have you ever been told that, oh, you just have anxiety, you just have OCD, you just have, panic disorder, you just have this, whatever it is, and because of that, oops, you're just stuck. It's a lifelong condition. That's just who you are. Your brain is just broken. Oh, you have this chemical imbalance. Oh, well, your genetics, your whole family has it. So yeah, you're just doomed to that. And you can make it a little bit more manageable, and it doesn't have to always be quite so bad, but dang, sucks to suck. If you've ever been told that, say yes. But that is not the case. That is not true. It is not that you're just broken or you're condemned to it or that's just you. No, it's just patterns you've memorized in your brain. That is it. And the reason why this is the most amazing, incredible, exciting news ever that should fill you with a sense of possibility and hope and power and freedom and like, let's go, more than you ever dreamed of, is because your subconscious can be rewired. All of your patterns, every single pattern that is causing you that suffering and distress can be changed. It can be reprogrammed. And as soon as it does, that fear, that anxiety, that suffering goes away automatically, because now you have new patterns that are running that are causing you to think and feel ways that you want to. That is why this is so amazing. And you might be saying, what? Well, how can it just be subconscious patterns? Like, I've learned that there's a chemical imbalance. I've learned that it's genetic. And I learned those things can all factor in on how your subconscious is programmed, but ultimately you can learn how to rewire your subconscious on top of all of those things. You can overcome all of those things. Even if there's a chemical imbalance in your brain right now, you can change that. You can change the chemicals in your brain through rewiring your subconscious, right? Even if it is genetic and all of my family has anxiety, guess what? All of my family pretty much has anxiety and OCD and all these things. And I still overcame it because you can still rewire your subconscious on top of all of that. So if that is something that you are, so if that is something that you choose to live your life starting right now, moving forward, even if you don't understand it yet, I'm about to explain why you can trust these things. But if that is something that you want to live according to, that you want to live your life this way, that you want to live your life as if, because of that knowledge, it means you can overcome all the bad. You can change everything about your brain, and you can actually create the brain and the life that you dream of. And nothing can stop you once you learn the steps of how to do that. If that is a truth, that you want to live your life through that lens, that perspective now, then say yes. Say yes. If you truly want to start viewing your OCD, your anxiety, your disorder as something that can be beaten, that can be changed, that can be rewired in your brain to actually overcome it, to actually heal and be free from it, and to recognize that it's not just true, the fears aren't just true, but they're just temporary patterns in your brain causing you to think and feel and experience life that way. If that is the way that you want to live your life through that knowledge, then say yes. Say yes. And just take that in. Take in that truth for a second. And even if you don't understand it fully yet, decide to go into me explaining this through that decision of, I'm going to trust this. I'm going to believe it with all that I can believe. Even if there's these thoughts or feelings that are like, no, that can't be true. That's too good to be true. I don't dare get my courage up to believe that. Decide to have the courage to trust the things I'm going to teach you, because that will change your life more than you could ever imagine, just like it did for me, just like it has for all the people that I've shared this with. And that is why I'm so passionate about this. That is why I just want to shout this from the rooftops and tell everyone I possibly can. And literally over the next few weeks, the next months, like, there were changes in my life that I never imagined possible. And those same changes can happen for you. Changes that you're like, there's no way that just happened. But before I share what those changes are that can happen for you, first, there are a couple concepts that I need to go over. So, first off, what is your subconscious? Like, what does that even mean? Because if all the OCD and the anxiety and the suffering, if it's all just subconscious patterns, then like, what is that? Like, what does that mean? Like, what is he talking about? So, your subconscious, to put it very simply, is the part of your brain that memorizes and stores information. And the whole goal of your subconscious, the reason it does that, is to try to help you meet your needs. Like, that is the goal behind everything it does, is to make sure that your needs are met. And that's what we're going to go in so much depth in a couple of videos. But to focus on for now, your subconscious is the part of your brain that memorizes and stores information. And this is absolutely crucial that our brain has this ability, because if your brain couldn't memorize and store information, if it couldn't record things and keep track of it, then you would have to relearn everything in every moment, right? So just the fact that you can understand what I'm saying to you, and it's not just like sounds and noises and like things that your brain's like, what does that mean? Like, the fact you can understand the English language is because you've memorized subconscious patterns that allow you to do that. At some point when you were a baby, you couldn't understand English language, and it was just sounds and it was just whatever. But then you learn over time to repeatedly connect. Oh, these sounds together is this word. And oh, these words together have this meaning. And oh, and over time you recorded that over and over again in your mind, so that now it's a subconscious program that automatically allows you to understand what I'm saying without needing to relearn or refigure it out, or without needing to be conscious. You don't have to be like super conscious, like, oh, he said that sound, oh, he said that word, oh, what is that meaning? No, your brain just like, oh, he's saying this, boom, and it takes it in and understands it. It's the same thing with everything else in your day-to-day life, right? Your ability to walk is because your brain has memorized the pattern, the program in your subconscious. It's memorized and stored that information of how to send signals from your brain to all of your muscles to contract your hip muscles and your leg muscles to move you forward, while also contracting the right stabilizer muscles to make it so you don't fall over and you can actually balance. Same thing with, brushing your teeth, remembering how to brush your teeth, remembering to brush your teeth. Also, driving a car, right? When you first learned how to drive a car, it was like, okay, signal this far ahead. Okay, signal that. Oh, and then steer like this in order to turn like this. And push on the brake. Oh, but that was too hard. Oh, but that wasn't hard enough. And you're learning, right? You're consciously having to focus on everything. Now, if you've ever had the experience where you drove for like 3 hours and afterwards, or 20 minutes, however long, you were like, whoa, like, did I just drive all that? Like, I literally don't remember anything about driving it. My body just like did it. If that's ever happened to you, say yes, right? Because it's just so conscious. You just automatically know how to do it. And it's not just daily functioning, but it's also any other skill or ability or thing that you've learned in your life. Steph Curry, the best shooter in basketball of all time, when he goes to shoot a three-pointer, he doesn't have to sit and think, how do I hold the ball in my hand, and how do I flick my wrist, and where do I look at the rim, and how hard do I contract my muscles in order to shoot the basketball for? Like, he doesn't think about any of that. It's just boom, and then just shoot, because he's memorized in his subconscious exactly what to do. That program of contract the muscle here, do this, look here, think this, to just shoot and make it a ton of the time. And think about it with your career or with something in your life, right? What's something in your career, whether you're an accountant or a musician or a salesman or whatever it is, think about something that at first when you were learning it, you were like, it's like a whole other language. Like, what the heck is this? And it was so hard. You had to focus and learn. And now that thing you can do in your sleep because it's just so automatic. You've memorized it. Your brain just memorizes and just automatically can run that ability to perform that task in that way. And one of my favorite analogies so you can understand your subconscious is right now, while I'm talking to you, I'm guessing, and if you want to try it, you can go ahead. I'm guessing that you could tie your shoe while still paying total attention to me. You wouldn't have to stop listening because you have to sit and think about how to tie your shoe. No, you can just tell your brain, boom, tie my shoe, and it's done while you're listening to me the entire time. It's because your body, your subconscious, has actually learned how to perform that function better than your conscious mind. So if you were to consciously try to figure out, that would actually be harder than just doing it because your subconscious knows exactly how to do it. Well, it's the exact same way with your thoughts and feelings. You could have the feeling of anxiety that your body, your subconscious, has memorized how to do it so well that it actually knows how to do it better than your conscious mind knows how to determine your emotions. Right? You could memorize how to worry about this specific insecurity that you have. You could memorize that pattern in your brain, that program, so much that it just automatically happens all the time, so that you become better at that subconsciously without even thinking about it, without even being aware of it, than you are consciously of when you do think about it. And in that way, even if you're consciously thinking, I want to be happy, I want to be happy, I want to be confident, because your subconscious is automatically running that program all the time because that's just what it's memorized to do, then you're still going to be thinking and feeling all these horrible things. You're still going to be believing all these horrible, terrifying things, right? Because your brain has memorized how to do that better than your conscious mind is at thinking about that thing. And Joe Dispenza talks about how 90 to 95% of our thoughts and feelings and experiences today are the same as they were yesterday. And 90% of our thoughts and feelings tomorrow are going to be the same as they are today, because we're just running these same patterns, these same circuits, where just like tying your shoe, you do it the same way every time. It's the same thing with your thoughts and feelings and behavior traits and characteristics and all of those things. You're just running the same circuits, the same patterns over and over again, so that then you're always fearing the same thing. You're always thinking those same horrible thoughts. You're always believing that same terrifying truth about your reality, about your future. That is why you're experiencing that all the time. That it's the exact same thing with your thoughts, with your emotions, with your fears, with your beliefs, with your way of viewing and perceiving the world around you, with your personality traits of, I'm just a really shy person. I'm just a really confident person. I'm really hardworking. I'm disciplined. All these different things about you are also subconscious patterns that you've memorized. So actually think about, what are some of the movies that are just playing in your mind over and over again of thoughts and feelings that just happen all the time? It's probably pretty easy to identify because that's your OCD or anxiety. Think of an emotion that your body, your subconscious knows how to do better than you consciously thinking about your emotions know how to determine your emotion. Think about an emotion like that, or multiple emotions. Think about thoughts that your brain, your subconscious is better at doing than you are, so it just always, all the time, causes you to think that way. And think about a time in your life, and if you've had this this subconscious pattern that makes you think and feel this way. If you've had it as long as you can remember, then this wouldn't apply. But if you haven't, then think about a time in your life where this fear, this thing that like consumes your whole reality, when it didn't even occur to you, when it wasn't even a thing. You didn't worry about it. It wasn't like, it literally wasn't a thing to you. And it's not that all of a sudden your actual reality changed. All of a sudden now this is a true danger for me and it wasn't before. No. It's that you've developed a new subconscious pattern that is now always telling you this thing is a danger, and always telling you to fear this and think this and feel this, right? Or have you ever thought about all the people that your worst fears and your worst insecurities and your worst whatever, that it doesn't even occur to that person? Like that person's never even comprehended the possibility of worrying about that thing. And you're like, how? Like, how does that not occur to you? Like, how do you not think about that? How is that not a thing to you? And your brain will tell you, oh, it's because it's not a danger for them. It's just a danger for you. You're the only one. No, that's just your pattern telling you that, right? The reason why for them it doesn't even occur to them or it's not a thing at all is because they don't have the subconscious patterns telling them that it is a thing, telling them that it is a danger and a fear and something they have to think about and feel about. That's it. Like that's the only thing separating you from that person that is totally free and doesn't have the OCD or anxiety at all. It's just that you have the patterns, the programs you've memorized in your subconscious. They're now automatic, and that person doesn't have those patterns. They have different patterns. That's the only difference. That person that doesn't worry about that thing you're always worrying about, they still are able to protect themselves from it just as much as you are. They're still just as safe from it as you are, or probably even more so, right? If you have patterns that are always taking you to happiness, then you're gonna have a really happy life. If you have patterns that are always taking you to fear, you're gonna have a really fearful life. If you have patterns that are always taking you to being discouraged and hopeless, you're gonna have a pretty bad life. But if you have patterns that are always making you feel empowered, or at least most of the time making you empowered and confident and strong, then you're gonna have a pretty awesome life. And it's not that you're just a bad person or a weak person or an insecure person and they're just a happy, confident person. That's just who they are. No, it's that you have those patterns, they have those patterns, and that is then determining how you are thinking, feeling, experiencing, perceiving life, all of that. That is determining automatically all those things happening in your experience. So once you change that, everything about you and your reality can change in all the ways that you dream of. So again, if this is the life that you want to start to live, if this is the life that you are deciding now to live, that I can change my patterns, everything bad about me is not condemning, it's not just true, it's not just forever stuck that way. No, it's just a pattern. And that means everything I dream of also can exist within new patterns, and I can develop those patterns, and I'm going to teach you how to do that. That is a life that you choose to live, then take this in. Really internalize this as true. Internalize, what can this mean for your life? What can this mean for your future? What can this mean for this moment? What can this mean about everything? And take that in. And if you're ready to take that in and make this real for you, then say yes. Say yes. Let's go. Let's change. Let's make today the start of a new life for you. Let's make this moment the start of a new life for you.